Welcome to the progress on my HO Austrian layout as at May 2019. I've been working on the branch terminus. It's nowhere near finished, as you'll see later on, but this is what the latest project's been, latest part has been. For those that have been here before, this is a junction station in the middle of nowhere, meant to be in Austria. It doesn't always look like it, but there you go. There's got two branches that come off it. Although the main line is electrified, the branches are diesel, more for my convenience than reality in a way. And one goes through that tunnel that you can see in the background there, and that links round to the new branch terminus. Okay, so the goods train you saw just now is now going to head round to the junction from this very unfinished still branch terminus. And unusually the signal is on the left, and I've got to put an indicator on there, an arrow actually, to show that it applies to the track that the goods train is on. So here's that goods train now entering the junction. And there's a passenger train now coming off the other branch at the other end of the junction. And it's coming in there to pass the goods train that came in off the other branch. So they can cross here. And is now entering branch terminus, which is still working on. I'm still working on the junction actually as well, but that's beside the point. As you can see, all I've really done is the back of the layout. Front is still a junk hole. It's a very simple terminus. And the station building still being worked on. The track on the left in the picture is a goods unloading line. That's often the case in Austria, that they have a track next to the station building there, and goods wagons be unloaded. As you can see, that's all bare plastic and all that. That's still being worked on. And over the back there is a track now used by the engineers, and a platform there that used to be used for military purposes in the war, but obviously got closed since. And there's a fence between in the distance you can see the railwayman's accommodation, and a load of trees there, and a high fence that between there and the stone wall. That used to be open and used to be access for military vehicles, but it got boarded up a long time ago obviously, and is overgrown. Now the siding that you see here was a track that used to go to the army camp. The use now is for some sort of industrial purpose, and the hopper wagons that you see there that bring in lime or something like that, doesn't matter much. They're a covered hopper. You can't see whether they're loaded or empty. My theory is they come in here, they leave deposits of white powder all over the place, so there must be something like lime. And they go in there, and in theory the shunter comes out the works and picks them up, takes them out to the works, and then brings them back again when they're empty. In practice they sit there until the day I might cut a hole in the back seam and extend it so a shunter can come out and do it, but that's another project for the future possibly. Anyway, it's the exit is disguised by trees, which is my usual sort of thing. That tree, the biggest tree you see there, is probably about 30, made that probably about 30 or so years ago. They've even used on various layouts, and you know, they survive. Basically, you can see, in theory, I don't know if you can see the dead branches up there, which is the wire. Well, I've not put any foliage on, but that's in theory a dead part, and there's ivy growing up the trunk and all that. I love trees, simple as that really. Anyway, perhaps I overdo the trees actually, because when you come to other parts of the layout, it doesn't look like the neat and tidiness of much of Austria. It's a bit overgrown really, and we'll come to that in a minute. Okay, so there's a church there next to the railway line. Once again, it is surrounded by trees, which I don't know whether it would happen or whether it wouldn't in Austria, because they tend to be very neat and tidy with their churches and their churchyards, and they are so neat and everything that you wouldn't believe it compared to some of ours. But there you go. In fact, to be honest with you, trees are a good way of disguising those very neat churchyards that I'm not going to build. And also it serves another purpose. I'll cheat here. I'll stand on the step ladder and I'll show you. Effectively, now I shouldn't give things like this away, but if you can see down in there, the church doesn't actually stand on any land, but a piece of wood going across, and it's simply so that I can access tracks underneath and things like that. But from the perspective of operating the layout, you wouldn't know. Okay, so if we get rid of this train, we'll run round it and get rid of it, then I'll show you around a bit more. As you see here, as we wait for the locomotor back on to the train, everything else stands still, the people on the bicycles and the like. Okay, we'll get a shot of this train now, and then show you a little bit more. Okay, so there's trees made of wire, twisted, coated with spray car body filler, painted, and then various foliages put on. Others that are standard commercial, what we call bog brushes, that have had some foliage put on, and that's it, and that's so-so. And there's what we call sea foam, like all this apart from the wire one over the back there, and there's a commercial one there put sea foam. It's very useful stuff. You just put some adhesive on it, some woodworking adhesive or something like that, and sprinkle foliage granules on it, and that's a cheap and easy way of a lot of trees if you want to. Some of the tree foliage on the wire trees, are, like on this one, is what's known as woodland scenics. It's a matting, so it comes on a sort of netting to tear it apart. It's got the greenery on it, and you can tear it in pieces and stick it on. It's also very useful for undergrowth and things like climbing, or things that, like on that wall there. Some of the trees have foliage which I use now to a certain extent for a company called Bush. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, probably Bush or something like that. Please, you know, excuse my pronunciation, but it's very good foliage, whatever you call it. And basically, you just put that on with glue. It doesn't have the netting like the woodland scenics, and you just put it on, and then I give it a coat of just spray it with hairspray, and unperfumed, or as least perfumed as you can get, hairspray, and that seems to hold it in place. The actual back scenes are from a company called Art Printers. They make quite a range, and I don't necessarily use them as they come. I hide the bits that I don't want with trees, and I stick some pieces over another piece and that sort of thing. But they're very useful, and they are, at least they are matte, unlike some that you can get. The grass that I use is basically grass fibres, and they come from DOW Scenics, which I think stands for Debris of War, because they do supply stuff for the people that are into military things. But it's very useful for railway modellers. And also, besides their loose grass, I use their, what they call their tufts, including ones that they sell as like summer flowers and things like that, which you can might be able to see here. Not sure where it's going to come out at the end of the day. And the signals, by the way, come from Hungary. They do come from a company in Hungary that do Austrian signals. Okay, you will also see some yellow flowers from time to time, place to place. They come from Gauge Master. But they're not daffodils, because they would not fit with the foliage on the trees there. I don't know what they are, but they're yellow flowers that come out in the summer. That's it. The wife's gardener, I just mow the grass. The walls are done from Will's sheeting, and I like the pallets and that there. I don't know what they've brought in, but there you go, the engineers have used them. And you can see grass tufts are used, they sliced up and used to fill gaps and all that. And there we are, it's the end of the line, and you've got the rubbish coming in here on the left hand side. There you go, there, that's it, we'll leave it there I think. Okay, thank you for watching, and you can now sit down and pick all the faults out, because there are some, I can tell you. And it's nowhere near finished, but there you go. Cheers!